Hello everyone, welcome to today's extraordinary session with the team ETS. Before we dive into the session, I just wanted to get a clear information from whether my voice is audible to you or not. Please use the chat box to post your answers. If I'm audible, please drop in a yes. Okay, I see a lot of yeses coming in. Kashi says yes, Vineet says yes. Okay, just give me a minute, I'll just put up the deck. Here we go. Yeah. So today's session is all about mastering your reading comprehension, like strategies and techniques for GRE success. So the session is hosted by Team ETS. We welcome Rutuparna on board, who is the master trainer at ETS. So before getting started, let's dive into what Galvanize does basically. So as you all know, we provide end-to-end personalized solution for students and working professionals who are aspiring to study abroad. We help with SAT, GRE, TOEFL, IELTS tests. We also help with the admission counseling for bachelor's, master's, MBA, doctorate degrees abroad. Also, we help with the pre-departure services like education loan, courier services, forex, students insurance, and many more. The team is founded and managed by Stanford, IIT Madras, and IIM Ahmedabad alum. So students from 65 plus countries have chosen Galvanize. You can see them on the alphabetical order on my screen. We have enabled students to reach 1,000 plus universities across 18 plus countries: US, UK, Canada, Australia. You say the name and you find it over here. Here are some of the Quora reviews. I'll be sharing the links on the chat box. Next, presenting you the host, Rutuparna. She is Assistant Manager for Training at ETS India. Previously, a lecturer at Indira Gandhi Institute of Technology, Sarang, guiding students in their academic growth. With 6+ years of experience in education, Rituparna is dedicated to shaping futures through education with proven track records and academic excellence. So, without wasting any further ado, I'll hand over the mic to Rituparna.
Thank you, Sahil. Hi, everyone. Good evening and welcome to this session today, which is going to be about reading comprehension in the GRE verbal section. I'm going to share some tricks and tips with you. I'm also going to, make you do some passage as well, which is going to be a hands-on approach so that you can understand how to break down the passage, simplify the passage, and how to answer the questions very, very effectively as well. So I want all of you to make this session very, very engaging and interactive. I believe it never is one way when it's a teacher-student communication. So pour in your doubts, pour in your questions, and I'm here to help you with everything. Right. So without much ado, I will share my screen with all of you. Please let me know if you can see my screen. Just a second. Just give me 1 minute.
I guess Rituparna is facing some technical issues. Just give us few minutes, she will be back.
Sahil, can you hear me?
Yes, Rituparna, I can hear you, but your screen is stuck.
Uh, I'm sorry.
Can you leave and join again?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying actually. Just give me.
Hi, sorry everyone, like we are facing some technical issues. Give us 2 minutes of time and the masterclass will start. If I'm audible, please drop a yes in the chat box just to reconfirm. Thanks, Shruti. Thanks, Gujrat. Thanks, Monish Deshmukh. All right, guys, like let's until Rutuparna joins, like just wanted to check few things with you. Like, when are you guys planning to take the GRE? The actual ETS GRE test? Drop in your messages in the chat box. So Rutuparna, when she joins, she can also have a clear picture. Okay. There are a lot of answers coming in. Okay. Vedant says Feb, Jan, Feb next year, September, October. Pritika, should I take on August end in next 2 months? Nice. Okay. Do you guys know like how many years the GRE score is valid for? Oh, nice. Shruti, would you like to ask some questions over here? Like Shruti, we have it from ETS India team.
Sahil, actually, I'm not able to see the chat or the messages coming from the students.
Okay. Just give me a minute.
Yeah, I can see two of the messages. Shalini has messaged 5 and Saurabh 2, 2 years.
Hi guys, we are extremely sorry for this. Just give me 2 minutes of time. Rutuparna is joining again. Yes, we have Rutuparna back with us. Hi Rutuparna, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
So yeah, we are ready to start again.
Yeah, all right. Thank you so much, everyone. Really sorry for the glitch. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, Rutuparna, we can see.
All right, great then. Thank you. Um, all right, we'll get started without much ado. All right, so what I'll do is I will give you the overview of the test first. I'll talk about the scoring for a little bit. I'll also talk about the advantages of taking the GRE. And then, of course, we are going to go ahead and go into the reading comprehension section in more detail, right? And we are going to have some hands-on approach as well. So GRE scores are used by graduate admissions or fellowship panels to supplement undergraduate records and other qualifications for graduate study as well. The scores provide common measures for comparing the qualifications of applicants and aid in the evaluation of grades and recommendations. Now, the GRE stands for Graduate Record Examination. It's a standardized test, which is commonly required for admissions to graduate and business school programs worldwide. The test consists of verbal reasoning, quantitative reasoning, and analytical writing sections. And now I'm going to talk about some benefits of the GRE test course. First of all, any idea why is it called a general test? Please put your ideas in the chat. Why is it called a general test? Any idea? Because it tests you on general skills. Yes, it tests you on basic aptitude and English. That's correct. And that's the reason why it's called a general test. Anybody and everybody can take the test. It tests you on simple maths and English skills, basically, right? So first and foremost, you can get admission to graduate programs. Many graduate and business schools use GRE scores as a crucial component of their admissions process. High GRE scores can enhance your application and increase your chances of being accepted into the program of your choice. And of course, you get many scholarship opportunities. Some institutions and organizations use GRE scores to determine eligibility for scholarships and financial aid as well. High scores may make you eligible for a merit-based scholarships or other forms of financial assistance, which you also get when you take the GRE. Now, of course, this goes without saying that you get program placement. GRE scores may be used to place students in appropriate academic programs or to determine whether additional coursework is necessary before beginning a graduate program. Then, of course, a GRE has a global recognition. It's a widely recognized test accepted all over the world, accepted by thousands of graduate and business programs worldwide. This global recognition makes it a valuable tool for individuals seeking to pursue advanced degrees in various countries. And when it comes to flexibility, GRE is a versatile test that allows you to showcase your skills in verbal reasoning, quantitative reasoning, and analytical writing as well. This comprehensive evaluation provides a more holistic view of your abilities compared to other standardized tests. We have a long-term validity, right? GRE test scores are valid for up to 5 years, which gives you a long, timeline of deciding which university or college you want to try for or go for, right? So that provides you flexibility for individuals who may not immediately want to pursue graduate studies after taking the test. So you have good enough um, time period to decide whether you want to go for the course or not, right? And of course, that career advancement goes without saying that some employers consider GRE scores when evaluating job applications, especially for positions that require advanced degrees or specific skills. A strong GRE performance can be an asset in certain professional fields as well, right? So when you take the GRE, it's not only to pass a certain test and get admitted to, the university of your dreams, but it also enhances your life skills. It also enhances how you talk and how you write in the long run as well. So I'm going to talk about the overview now. We have 3 sections in the GRE. The first section is always the analytical writing assessment section. The scores here range from 0 to 6 in half point increments. When I say half point increments, what I mean is you will be getting your scores like 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, like that. 4 is considered a good score on the analytical writing assessment. Anything above 4 is considered great, and anything below 4 basically demonstrate what has not been done well in the essay. But remember that the scores of AWA is not included in the actual score of GRE, which is 340. What comprises of that score are 2 sections, and those are verbal reasoning and quantitative reasoning sections. But where do your analytical writing assessment scores come to your help, right? How do we make sure that those sections that we write for and that we practice for do not go into waste? Now, almost all top tier universities and most of the universities require you to write this essay as, as a proof to match whether the person who has written your SOP is actually you or somebody else. Second, if let's say you and your friend both have, applied to the same college, somebody with the higher AWA score gets a chance at making it to the university. And also it's going to help you a lot in writing your theses, which you'll have, in your university setting or academic setting. Next, we have 2 sections, which is verbal reasoning and quantitative reasoning. Now, both of these sections range individually from 130 to 170, 130 being the lowest and 170 being the highest in 1 point increments. So what does this mean? That means that all the questions in these sections will pertain to 1 mark or 1 point. This is the entire breakdown of the GRE test structure. The first one is analytical writing assessment, which is allotted 30 minutes, right? Next, you have verbal reasoning and quantitative reasoning, both of which have 2 sections each. Now, the number of questions remains the same in both these sections, which is 12 and 15 respectively, but what changes is the time allotted for verbal and quantitative reasoning. So for verbal, you get 18 minutes for the first section and 23 minutes for the second section. But for quantitative reasoning, you get something extra. You get 3 minutes extra in both these sections. That means 21 minutes for the first section to finish 12 questions and 26 minutes for the second section to finish 15 questions. Now, why is knowing the timing important? Because pacing is also something that you have to take care of and keep in mind, because you also have to, answer the questions in time. Answering questions is not important. Answering questions in the given time period is important, right? So if you're talking about 18 questions, if you're talking about 18 minutes to finish 12 questions, how much time do you get for each and every question? let's talk about the verbal reasoning, right? So you get 12 questions in the first section and you get 18 minutes to finish those 12 questions. So how much time you're getting per each question? You get somewhere around 1 minute, 12 seconds, 1.5 minutes. Yeah, more or less the same. Now, are you supposed to spend the same amount of time on each and every question? No. Why not?
So certain people have answered to me, Rutuparna. Someone has said 1.5 minutes.
Yeah, I can see the answers as well. Different questions need more attention. Difficulty level varies. Easy questions can be answered a bit faster because some questions might take more and certain less. That's correct. So that means this makes us, or this brings us to the next point, which is the kind of questions that we get in the verbal section, right? Any idea what kind of questions we get in the verbal reasoning section? Vocab and fill in the blanks, sentence equivalence, text completion questions. That's correct. Kirtika says text completion, RC sentence completion. Okay, that's correct. Okay, so we get majorly about two types of questions. One is a vocabulary related question, which are mostly fill in the gap kind of questions, which requires you to know the meaning of certain words, right? And the other type of questions are based on comprehension, right? Or reading comprehension passages. Now, one reading comprehension passage may have somewhere around 1 to 6 questions, but those are not fixed, right? It depends on the length of the passage. It depends on the complexity of the passage. There are so many factors that go into it, right? But you can get about 1 to 6 questions based on a certain passage. All right. Okay, so these are certain tools that you get in the test dashboard, which is exit section, calculator, mark, review, etc. Now, this exit section tool is quite self-explanatory. When you click on this, the section will be over for you. That means you will not be able to go back to the section. So it's always advised that you use whatever time is given for that section and then click on this. As long as you are within a section, you can move around and go back to any question that you like. But once the section is over, you will not be able to go back to the section. When it comes to the calculator, we will not need a calculator in the verbal reasoning section, but in the quantitative section, you will have a calculator with basic operations available to you throughout. Next one is a mark button. Now, this is very, very important for all test takers to know. What is the significance or advantage of this mark button? Sometimes you would have felt that you're taking way too much time on a particular question. Now, to avoid that, when you are conscious of the fact that you have spent too much time than you should have on a particular question, mark that question, move on to the other questions, answer those questions first, and then click on the review button. So when you click on the review button, it allows you to view a list of questions that you have marked in a section. So that kind of acts like a reminder for you so that you can go back to each of those questions and then change your response and submit your response as well. Now, when you click on the review button, this is exactly how the review page looks like. All right. But remember that you cannot be marking each and every question because that will kill a lot of time. Only when you feel that a question is very, very complex and complicated or time consuming for you, then you should mark that question and then move on to the other question. Clear? Now, most of us here would know that the GRE is section adaptive, but some of us might not know. That's why I'm going to elaborate on the same. What does it mean that the GRE is section adaptive? What does section adaptiveness mean? Any idea? Can you all hear me?
Yes, Rutuparna.
All right. Okay.
So,
Sirs, performance in the first section will determine the second section. That's correct, Kirtika. Anybody else?
so Vedant has said, right, if a candidate attempts easy questions with ease, the next section tends to be difficult side.
Okay. Okay. I think we have some mixed ideas, but don't worry. I'm going to be clearing all that up. Section depends on the first and second section. Okay. Yes, Sahil.
So Mohammed Rayuddin says like depends on the test taker's performance. Good performance direct to tough questions and good score.
Second section's difficulty determined on based on the first one. All right, great. So how many questions do we get in the first section? We know that for both verbal and quants, the number of questions remain the same for each and every section, right? Now let's talk about the verbal section only, because the section adaptiveness works individually per section. Like for verbal, it works differently, and for quants, it works differently as well. So let's talk about the first section and how many questions are tested in the first section for verbal. Any idea? I just told you about that in the previous slide. That's correct, 12 questions. Now, all those 12 questions will be a mixed bag of questions. What do I mean? That means some questions will be easy, some questions will be medium, and some questions will belong to the hard level, right? So if you get around 8 to 9 plus questions correct in the first section, that will ensure that the next section that you get for verbal will contain harder questions. But that will also make sure that your score is going up. So it doesn't matter if you get all the easy questions right. What matters is you have to get around 9 plus questions correct to ensure that the next section is harder in nature, and that will make sure that your score is going up. So it's very, very important for you to do well in the first section itself, because from that moment onwards, you're making sure that you are going to get an overall good score in the GRE general test. All right. So within each section, all questions contribute equally to the final score. We have established that all the questions pertain to 1 mark or 1 point, but it's also the difficulty level of the questions that sort of define how high or how low your score is going to be. Remember that there is no negative marking in the GRE, which is a huge advantage. That means you should not leave any question unanswered. All right. I'm going to tell you some tips and some tips for process of elimination. Always try and make a calculated guess. Even if you're taking a mock, it's absolutely fine. Do not ever leave any question unanswered. Try to make a calculative guess. You never know. It may as well just turn out to be the correct answer. All right. So this is how the section level adaptiveness works. Please take a look at the same, and after this, we are going to go ahead to the reading comprehension module. And ask me if you have any questions as of now. Okay, so Monish asks, if you mess up the first section, can you make up for it in the second section? You can, but then you have to perform doubly well in the second section and all the other sections that are coming up. Any other questions at this point before we move on to reading comprehension in detail? yeah, this is just an illustration of the section level adaptation. If you perform moderately well, then you'll get a moderate section as the next section. If you perform not very well, that means the next section will contain easy questions, but that will also make sure that your score is also not that great. But if you perform amazingly well in the first section, that means it's going to make sure that you get an overall good score in the verbal and quantitative reasoning separately. All right. Great. So the skills assessed on the verbal reasoning measure are reading comprehension passages and vocabulary questions, as we have already established. There are two types of vocabulary questions. One is text completion and the other is sentence equivalence. And the other type of question that we get is based on reading comprehension passages. And that is what we are going to talk at length in this session today. So in reading comprehension passages, you get a variety of questions. Now, you'll get a question which is multiple choice, which has one answer choice. You'll also get a multiple choice question which may have more than one correct answer. You'll also get a question which will ask you to select a sentence in the passage. That means you'll have to choose the sentence in the passage which fits a given description that is given to you in the question. All right. Great. It consists of a passage and one or more associated questions. It requires the test taker to read and to understand what is read, to recognize purpose and main idea, to recognize specific points made in the passage, to recognize assumptions, making inferences, and evaluating purpose and structure. So each reading passage contains all of the information needed to answer the questions that follow it. So remember, guys, when you are trying to answer questions based on any kind of reading comprehension passages, the passage is your only proof. That means you cannot rely on any kind of outside information or even your interpretation or assumption for that matter. Anything and everything that you need to answer the questions is right there in the passage. So if you are confused at all, always look for proof in the passage itself. All right. Now, there are so many kind of questions that you're going to get. But if I broadly simplify the question to all of you, then there is going to be two types of question. One is going to be a general question or a main idea question, and the other question is going to be a specific purpose question. A general question will always have a general answer. A general question will always ask you about what is happening in the passage overall. It will not ask you anything which is specifically mentioned in specific part of the passage. But a specific purpose question will always ask you about something that is maybe mentioned in the second paragraph or the third paragraph or something like that. So when you understand the task of the question, you will also understand what the approach is going to be. Now, this is how a multiple choice question with one answer choice looks like. Whenever you see the answer choices are in oval boxes, you will understand that this question will have one correct answer. But whenever you have a multiple choice question, which answer choices are in square boxes, just like the one you see on the screen, you automatically should get to understand that the question might have more than one correct answer. What do I mean when I say it might have more than one correct answer? For this question, it can be option A only, which is the correct answer. It can also be option A and option C. But remember that there is no partial scoring. That means if the answers to this question is option A and option C, and you have only come up with option A as the answer, you will not be marked for this question. Only when you have come up with both the correct answers, you will be marked for this question. I also told you about a question which asks you to select a sentence in the passage. Now, this is exactly how a sentence in the passage looks like. Select the sentence that distinguishes two ways of integrating rock and classical music. So that's the description you have. Now, any sentence in the passage that matches the description will be your answer. So when you select the sentence, the entire sentence will be selected. You will not be able to select more than one sentence. And that is depending on the answer, you'll be marked or not marked on this question. Right? So those were some basic information about reading comprehension passages. Now, when you're dealing with the passage, there are three things that you always have to keep in mind. The topic, that means what is the topic about? The purpose, that means why has the author written the passage in the first place? What is it that the author wants to convey? Or what is that big idea or the main idea that the author wants you to believe in? And what is the scope the passage has? I mean, what are the kind of supporting details or evidences that are given to support the main idea? Now, remember that most passages start with a background information itself. Any idea what a background information is? Any idea? Something like a premise? Well, sort of, yes. Okay, all right. Yeah, because these passages are excerpts, right? We don't know where these passages are coming from. So it'll always start with a background information, and by reading that background information, you will get an idea about what this passage is going to be and what you can expect later in the passage. Whether this passage is going to be about history or it's going to be about, you know, evolution, or it's going to be about economy, whatever it is, right? So remember that every passage starts with a background information which sort of introduces the topic to you. There's one more thing that you need to understand, because most test takers are always afraid of reading comprehension passages, and I've seen this pattern because they feel like they need to grasp each and everything that's given in the passage, but that's not true. Not everything that's given in the passage is important for you to understand and is important for you to understand to answer the questions. So discard all that information which is not very important, right? So always try to find out that key sentence from each of those paragraphs. Subject matter knowledge is not needed to answer the questions. Even with unfamiliar material, with a little work, the questions can be answered. Okay, that means I told you that any confusion, locate the answer in the passage itself. If you think that you don't understand the answer for a particular question, go back to the passage, find the proof. If you have it, that's going to be your answer. If you don't have it, you cannot take it to be the correct answer. It's as simple as that. When practicing to take the test takers should try to determine which method is best for them. Whether to read the passage thoroughly first or to skim the passage first, whether to look at each question before reading the passage. Now remember that this depends on what kind of question you are asked, but it's always a better idea to break down the passage first, to analyze the passage first, discard all the less important information, and extract all the juice from the passage, which will help you to answer the questions. I've seen a lot of students who sort of go from the question to the passage looking for those keywords. That will kill a lot of time first. And when you look for keywords, you'll always get confused. It might not always answer your question. So make sure that you analyze the passage first and then go back to the questions. Okay. So when answering reading comprehension questions, test taker should make sure to understand what the question is asking. Answer strictly on the basis of what the passage says. They should not rely on any kind of outside knowledge, something that I've told you before. Not select an answer simply because it is a true statement. What does this mean? I'll give you a real life example, okay? So if I say that you are asked a main idea question, which asks you what is the primary purpose of this passage. Now, the answer to such a question, which should also be all-inclusive. What does this mean? This means that you have to look for an answer which addresses to the passage as a whole and not just coming from any specific part of the passage. Okay. In the options, you mostly will always see certain options which will use exact same words from the passage, and you will want to fall for it because those are true statements and because they come from the passage. But what you don't understand is they may not necessarily answer your question. For a main idea question, I cannot take an answer choice which is very specific and is coming from the second paragraph or the third paragraph and is supported by the passage. I have to look for an answer which is all inclusive and which is addressing to whatever has been discussed overall in the passage, right? Do not also select an answer choice which is partially correct. You'll sometimes come across answer choices which are half right and half wrong. So having a prediction always helps. How to do that is what I'm going to teach you in a while. Okay. So when answering main idea questions, test takers should make sure that the selected answer picks the main idea rather than a specific one or a subsidiary one. When identifying what the passage says explicitly, test takers should be able to pick out specific portions of the passage that make the relevant statement. And when identifying what the passage says implicitly, test takers should not be limited by what is stated explicitly. They should not substitute their own ideas or interpretations. Stick to what the author is committed to. Remember that these questions, which are implicit questions or very popularly called as inference questions, are a little harder to understand and a little harder to find out the answers for. Why? Because the answers for these questions are not explicitly stated in the passage. So you somewhere have to read between the lines, understand the author's tone to get to the answer. Okay. So this is the step that you need to follow for any kind of reading comprehension passages on the GRE. Step 1, always work the passage. When I say work the passage, there are 3 things that you have to find out. The main idea. How do you understand the main idea? You have to look for the most challenging statement or the most important statement from the passage. And that will be your proof for the main idea. And that is what the author's claim is. Then you have to come up with the structure because you sometimes get structural questions also. Now, most reading comprehension passages will fall under 2 structures. Either there'll be a pyramid or a triangle, wherein the main idea will be stated first and then it is followed up by less important details or evidences. Or it could be an inverted triangle where the passage starts with a background information and some important and some evidences or supporting details, which in turn leads to the main idea. So there are either 2 places that you can find the main idea. It will be either at the beginning of the passage or at the end of the passage. Then you have to find out the author's tone, whether the author agrees with the claim that he makes or he disagrees with the claim that he makes, or what is the author's stand on the claim. Step 2 is to understand the task of the question. Very, very important. The subject is going to be the passage, and the task obviously will be carried out from what kind of question you are asked. Step 3, find the information in the passage that addresses the task of the question. The passage is your only proof. I cannot stress on it enough because most people try and rely on their interpretations because they find it very lucrative. Do not do that. If you do that, you'll most probably come up with the wrong answer. The 4th step is the most important step, and that's called process of elimination. It is going to be of great help to you if you are running out of time in the test and you want to make a calculated guess. So when you understand the nature of answer choices that you get in reading comprehension passages, it's going to be very, very easy for you. First one is recycle language, which is what I have told you about, something that uses exact same words from the passage, by looking at which you feel like, oh my God, I've seen this somewhere in the passage, so this could be the answer, right? But those are distractors, those are trap answers. Never fall for them. Next is extreme language. Some answer choices will be making use of absolutes, like words like should or must or, always, never. Always refrain from such kind of answer choices because they make the conclusion even more stronger than it already is in the passage. The next type of answer choice that you have to eliminate are called no such comparison answer choices. Now, what will happen in such answer choices? You will see comparison language like greater than, lesser than, more, more beautiful, less beautiful, something like that. So the author would have merely mentioned two things in the passage, not necessarily to compare, right? And there is a possibility that those two things will be in far distance from each other in the passage. But when you look at the answer choice, the answer choice will be comparing them by using some comparison language. And then because you have seen both these things on the passage, you may fall for it. So 9 out of 10 times, no such comparison answer choices are wrong. Next, you have reversals. Anything that states the opposite of what you're trying to look for, eliminate that. Next one is outside knowledge. Anything and everything that makes use of new information or outside information which the passage has no relevance to, eliminate that. Those are always considered as out of scope answer choices. Same with emotional appeals. Those answer choices could be true according to your understanding, but they may not necessarily have proof in the passage. And if they don't have proof, then of course we cannot take them as the correct answer choice. Okay, so these are all the answer choices that you need to be aware about. If you have any questions, please ask me right now, because after this slide, I'm going to show you a passage and then we are going to break down the passage and then answer some questions based on it. Any doubts? I'm guessing we have no doubts then, because I don't see any. Sahil, do you see any questions or doubts? So does it mean that options with the same verbatim as in the passage are always wrong? Not always, of course, but it depends on what kind of questions you are asked. Okay, Kritika says, can you explain a recycled one again? Kritika, I think you will be able to better understand what a recycled answer choice is when we actually look at an answer choice like that. So can we go to a passage and do some questions? When we are doing it practically, we will be able to understand what each of these answer choices look like. Great. So here you see a passage. I'll give you, let's say, 2 to 3 minutes to go through the passage. Try to find out the most important sentence according to you. If I ask you, what is the key sentence that you found out from this passage, you should have an answer. So go ahead and read it. And once you're done, let me know in the chat. Have you read the passage, everyone? I've taken a short passage so that you can understand how to simplify the passage based on sentence functions. What do I mean when I say sentence functions? Always try to break down the passage according to claim. Now, whenever you have a claim, obviously you'll have an evidence. You'll also have an objection. Objection is also a certain kind of claim, right? It's a minor claim, although not the major claim. Objection is where you'll see some, contrasting ideas coming from the author, right? And of course, like I said, the background information. So almost always the first sentence or the first paragraph is going to be the background information, depending on the length of the passage. So here, the passage starts with a background information, which is the first sentence. It says, so remarkable and definite are the similarities among the Indo-European or Aryan languages that linguists are convinced they all derive from an earlier language spoken by some community in the prehistoric past. So what details does this sentence carry? We get to know that these Indo-European languages or Aryan languages are all derived from the same place, correct? Yes or wrong? That they all originated at the same place. That's the details we have. So this is how you simplify. Do not freak out or do not fall for these long, lengthy, complicated sentences. Try to simplify it. What is that one thing, which is important for me to take out? Now, obviously, the background information, you will not have any author's claim. The next sentence says, while it is known that Latin began as a rustic dialect in the province of Latium, no one knows where Proto-Aryan was first spoken, right? Now, here the author comes in and makes a claim that, yes, we know that all these languages derived at one place, but then no one still knows which was that place all these languages originated in. So this is like a bold statement being made. Now, you'll also have to think a lot while you're doing reading comprehension passages. Now, once the author has made a claim, we know that the entire passage is going to be about finding out the origins for these Proto-Aryan languages. Yes or no? Yes. So once the author has made a claim, what will he try to do next? He will try to justify. That's exactly what we are looking at, Monish. Correct. How will he justify? By giving some reason or some example to support the claim that he made. So what does he say next? That some speculate that Proto-Aryan was first used in southern Russia, while still others point to the Iranian Plato as a more likely potential cradle. So that means he gives you two possible theories. Either it could be southern Russia, where the Proto-Aryan language originated, or it could be the Iranian Plato. Very simple. Though some philologists believe that Old Indic and Persian of the Avesta contain the most archaic features of Aryan found to date, this does not necessarily fix the habitat of these early Aryan-speaking people closer to Asia than to Europe. What is the first word of this sentence? What kind of language is that? Though. What kind of language is though? Oh, that's correct. Yes. So that means the author is trying to object. So he gives you two theories and then he goes ahead and objects to one of those theories, which is Iranian Plato. Says that just because this language originated here does not mean that it will stay here, right? So what did I tell you? That objection is also a minor claim, right? So now that he has again objected to something, he will again try to justify his objection. Why do I think that? Correct? Yes or no? Yeah. So what does he say next? Consider Icelandic. When do you say consider something? to prove, or when you want to give an example of something. So consider Icelandic. So here he has taken the example of another language, which is Icelandic, to support why he's objecting to one of these theories, right? Then the last sentence is, though this language has strayed far from its birthplace, it preserves many of the characteristics discarded by those who remained behind. That means even though this Icelandic language has strayed, that means moved far from its birthplace, it still has some of its characteristics. So what the author is trying to tell you is, just because Malayali, I'm just giving you a very simple example so that you understand it in a better way. Just because Malayali as a language has originated in Kerala does not mean that it will stay in Kerala. It can go over the world as well. It can move to any place. Am I making sense, guys? Right? So that means, what is the author trying to establish here? Are languages fixed or do they move? They do move, right? So I think we kind of have an idea about what answers or answer we are looking for a main idea question or the primary purpose question. Remember that the most important sentence or the author's claim will be the proof for a primary purpose question. So here you see the question. Tell me what you think the answer is going to be. Naman, you have to come up with one correct answer, not two. Whenever you have to come up with two correct answers, remember that the answers will be in square boxes, all right? See, guys, what is the author's claim in this passage? The second sentence, right? While it is known that Latin began as a rustic dialect, no one still knows where Proto-Aryan was originated, or nobody knows the origin of Proto-Aryan. Now try to look for an answer choice which follows the same outline, which is what option D says, offering support for the claim that the birthplace of Proto-Aryan is unknown by questioning some possible points of origin. That's going to be the answer. All the other answers are either recycled answers or they're out of scope. We don't have proof for that in the passage. Am I making sense, or do we have any doubts? Clear? The answer is option B, the fourth option. Any doubts? Clear. Great. I'll go to the next question, which is a vocabulary in context question. This question obviously should not take you more than 30 seconds to answer. In the context in which it appears, cradle, which is highlighted, most nearly means what? So to do this question, you obviously do not need to go through the entire passage. You just need to read the sentence that the word is highlighted in, and you'll get the context, right? So try to come up with a word on your own for that word that is highlighted, and then you can go ahead and match it with the options. So what are we talking about here? We are talking about origin, right? Either Southern Russia or Italian Plato could be a possible origin for Proto-Aryan languages, right? So what is going to be the answer here? That's correct, a birthplace. Okay, great. Okay, can we do this question? This is an inference question. Always be very specific about what is the question about. Okay, the question says, based on the passage, which of the following can be inferred about languages? The question is about languages, not Proto-Aryan language. Remember that. So go ahead and tell me, what is that one fact we established about languages after reading the passage? Very good. Amazing. That's correct. Option A, the location in which language is spoken may shift over time. That means what we are trying to say is that languages have this ability to move from place to place. I think I saw an answer which said option B. Option B says every modern language derives from Proto-Aryan. See, again, this is what is called an extreme answer. Every modern language, we don't know that. The passage doesn't support it, so we can't take it to be the answer. Option C says the characteristics of a language are invariable. They are variable, right? So this is a reversal answer. Okay. Great. Did you understand this question or do you have any doubts? Great. We'll do the last question, and after this, I'll hand over the session to Sahil. So please answer this question. Whenever you have a question which has the term in order to, always try to paraphrase it into a why question. So basically, why has the author mentioned Icelandic? So remember the sentence function. What was the function of Icelandic? Why did the author use it? He used it as an example, right? So there you go. That's the hint. Very good job, everyone. Yes, indeed. Option A is the correct answer for this question. He gave you the example of Icelandic to support the objection that he made in the previous sentence, right? So option A says to provide support for the contention. Contention is nothing but objection, right? So option A is going to be the correct answer. Great. So those were all the questions I had planned for you.
Thanks, Rutuparna, for this. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Before we take up the Q&A, just give us 2 minutes break to Rutuparna. You guys can post your questions in the chat box. Until then, I just wanted to share a couple of things from Galvanize to you guys. Just give me a minute. So what basically Galvanize does? So Galvanize helps you with GRE, TOEFL, IELTS, SAT preparation. We have customers from 65 plus countries and 20 percentile average score improvement across several thousand students we have done and tested. We also provide admission counseling for undergrad, master's, doctorate degree, MBA degree, and our admission percentage is 99%. Received admits to 140 plus specialization across 16 plus countries. So don't miss out that. Next thing, we have a freebie for you guys. Avail a free profile evaluation with our study abroad experts who will guide you from the start till the end. It's free for today. Just head on to the link shown on your screen, and even I have shared in the chat box. We have limited slots available. Make sure you fill the form, get your profile evaluated, and know where you stand. Don't miss out this opportunity. Also, I have shared the free GRE mock test link on your chat box. Do have a look, take your time, and take the advantage of free GRE mock test. You can start posting your questions on the chat box. Rutuparna will start taking it. I have again pasted the free profile evaluation link on your chat box. Make full use of it, guys. We have very limited slots available. And I request everyone who is planning to study abroad to fill this profile evaluation form and understand where you stand among others. I'm also pasting the mock test link. It's completely free. You can take one mock test free from Galvanize. Hurry up, fill up the form, get the test link, and start your test. This profile evaluation call will be for 30 minutes with our study abroad experts who have helped thousands of students to get placed in the top universities abroad. So make sure you take full advantage of it and bang on. Get your profile evaluated today. Any questions, guys, for Rutuparna?
I think there's one question, I'll take it up.
Yeah.
And the question is from Vineet. Last question that we saw, reason behind is discarding option D. So option D, one second. Option D says counter the speculation that Proto-Aryan was first spoken in Russia. Well, that was not why the example of Icelandic was given. Icelandic was given as an option to strengthen why the author thinks that Iranian Plato cannot be the origin for Proto-Aryan. It wasn't for southern Russia. All right, the author just gives you two possible theories, then goes ahead and discards one. All right, that's the reason. Thank you. I don't think we have any other questions, Sahil.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Thank you. Thank you for attending today's session. Don't forget to attend our next session on 19th, which we have with Education USA Advisor, where the advisor from Education USA will guide you through the complete application process for the US universities. Make sure you attend that session also on 19th. I'll be sharing you the link post this webinar so you can register and make sure you are present in the next session. One last time, I'm pasting the profile evaluation link again. Make sure you evaluate your profile and understand where you stand among others. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for being part of this wonderful session. Thanks, Rutuparna. Thanks, Shruti.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Sahil. Thanks, Rutu.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.